Today, we're looking at the military cooperation between Beijing and Moscow.
The presidents of Russia and China, as we reported, met today and reaffirmed their desire to have closer ties.
Washington has stressed the importance of its economic relationship with Beijing.
This is an unprecedented, very large 11 warship joint naval task force between Russia and China.
The burgeoning partnership between China and Russia has elicited substantial concern within the United States, prompting a candid acknowledgement of the escalating ties between these two formidable global players, as Beijing and Moscow cement a strategic alliance that spans economic, diplomatic, and geopolitical spheres. The American administration has openly voiced apprehension over the implications of this collaborative convergence. The strategic implications of the China-Russia partnership extend beyond regional dynamics, as the two nations collectively challenge Western dominance and assert their influence on the global stage.
There can be no room in the leadership of the Republican Party for apologists for Putin.
If this collaboration keeps growing at this pace,
World War III has never been closer than it is right now.
Who do you think will remain the dominant power all over the world? Today's episode will cover reports of U.S. concern over Sino-Russian collaboration. This is Race to Space, and if you like watching content like this, consider subscribing. The United States expresses its apprehension over the strengthening relationship between Beijing and Moscow, according to a recent statement from the State Department. This concern arises just days after the Pentagon dispatched warships to address a situation involving Chinese and Russian vessels participating in joint naval drills.
This was a very large fleet of ships, nearly a dozen, from two of our main adversaries coming close to American waters.
During a press briefing held recently, Vedant Patel, the spokesperson for the State Department, delved into an upcoming summit that involves the United States, Japan, and South Korea. The summit's primary focus is expected to center around the People's Republic of China. When questioned about the potential impact of the summit on U.S. attempts to rebuild communication channels with Beijing, Patel negated any such negative effects. However, he did express unease about the deepening ties between Russia and China. We have also clearly expressed ongoing concerns regarding the increasing closeness of the relationship between the People's Republic of China and Russia, and the steps they have taken in that direction. So I don't believe these matters are mutually exclusive. We can continue to pursue all of these objectives in the appropriate manner, Patel remarked. The State Department has refrained from explicitly mentioning China in its previous discussions regarding the forthcoming three-way summit. Nonetheless, unnamed U.S. officials who communicated with Voice of America indicated that the meeting intends to address the escalating threats posed by Beijing. Patel's statements follow closely after Washington dispatched guided missile destroyers to monitor a joint Russian-Chinese naval patrol's activities. This maritime operation had taken place near the coast of Alaska as part of a joint military exercise. Various Republican lawmakers characterized this incident as an incursion, with Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska emphasizing the necessity for the U.S. to confront authoritarian aggression.
The war in Ukraine really revealed that we are in this new era of authoritarian aggression led by Xi Jinping and Putin.
Commenting on these military maneuvers, Liu Pengju, the spokesperson for the Chinese embassy in Washington, emphasized that this action is not targeted at any third party and has nothing to do with the current international and regional situation. This statement appears to allude to the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and the tense situation between Washington and Beijing regarding Taiwan. On the other hand, Russia articulated its commitment to continuing cooperation between the Russian Navy and its Chinese counterparts. The joint patrol, it was highlighted, traversed several critical maritime routes including the Sea of Japan, La Perouse Strait, the Sea of Okhotsk, and the Kamchatka Strait. Given the increasing economic ties between Russia and China, the U.S. has also taken notice of this aspect of their relationship. While the White House has repeatedly accused China of supporting Russia in the Ukraine conflict, Chinese authorities maintain that their engagements with Moscow are part of routine economic and trade cooperation with nations across the globe, including Russia. The Chinese Foreign Ministry further asserted that their bilateral relations with Moscow do not target any third party, nor are they subject to external interference and coercion. In light of this, they urged Washington to attend to its own matters rather than meddling in theirs. This situation underscores the intricate dynamics of international relations in a rapidly changing world. The United States finds itself in a position of navigating its diplomatic ties with both China and Russia, two influential players on the global stage. As the geopolitical landscape continues to evolve, the U.S. must carefully balance its concerns, interests, and interactions with these two nations. It is evident that the United States is vigilant about any developments that could potentially impact its relationships with China and Russia. The joint naval drills involving Chinese and Russian vessels, coupled with their deepening ties, have raised alarms in Washington. The U.S. government's decision to send warships to monitor the situation underscores its commitment to safeguarding its interests and asserting its presence in the region. Similarly, Moscow's commitment to continuing cooperation with China in naval operations underscores the strategic partnership between the two nations. The joint patrol's path through crucial maritime routes showcases the extent of their collaboration. This collaboration extends not only to military exercises, but also to economic endeavors, as seen in their burgeoning trade ties. The economic aspect of the Russia-China relationship has also caught the attention of the United States. The accusations of China aiding Russia in the Ukraine conflict have cast a shadow over their economic engagements. China's response, emphasizing its commitment to normal economic and trade cooperation, is a direct rebuttal to these allegations. China's President Xi Jinping and the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, have recently come together to ink a pact that heralds a fresh era of collaboration between the two countries. In a meeting held within the Kremlin, the leaders underscored the significance of constructive discussions in addressing the ongoing Ukraine predicament. President Xi put forth that the partnership of strategic import and the bilateral connections linking China and Russia were on the cusp of a novel phase. In parallel, President Putin verified that all accords had been reached, with economic teamwork between Moscow and Beijing taking precedence. This piece delves into the weightness of this accord, spotlighting the accentuation on pragmatic collaboration and the conceivable consequences for worldwide dynamics. The Moscow visit of President Xi arrived in the aftermath of the International Criminal Court, ICC, issuing an arrest warrant for President Putin, citing misdemeanors committed in Ukraine, where Russian military encountered considerable difficulties and setbacks. The gathering's purpose was to cement the limitless alliance that the two leaders had declared in February, mere weeks ahead of Russia's incursion into Ukraine. As for the Ukrainian conflict, President Xi accentuated China's adherence to United Nations principles and promotion of a peaceful resolution. He underscored China's dedication to tranquility and dialogue. The joint statement disseminated following the meeting took a critical stance toward the West, implicating the United States in destabilizing global equilibrium and NATO in encroaching upon the Asia-Pacific region. President Putin acknowledged that China's proposition to alleviate the conflict could potentially form a foundation for a peaceful settlement, yet he perceived a lack of willingness from the West and Kyiv to participate in meaningful discourse. While the specifics of China's 12-point proposal for de-escalation and ceasefire in Ukraine remain hazy, the United States dismissed the scheme owing to China's refusal to condemn Russia's invasion. The U.S. contended that a ceasefire would solidify Russia's territorial gains and grant President Putin's forces additional time to regroup. The White House's response to the meeting underscored China's partiality and called on Beijing to exert pressure on Russia to withdraw from Ukrainian territory, thereby conclusively ending the conflict. The agreement also aimed to expedite the Power of Siberia 2 pipeline, designed to ferry 50 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually from Russia to China via Mongolia. This pipeline carries particular weight for Russia, which seeks to curtail its reliance on Europe as a primary gas consumer. Additionally, the leaders exchanged thoughts on broadening oil exports from Russia to China through a proposed pipeline, signifying the growing trade and energy bonds between the two nations. In addition, President Xi and President Putin tackled the issue of internet governance, expressing their opposition to the militarization of information and communication technologies. They threw their support behind the establishment of a multilateral, equitable, and transparent global management system for the internet, underscoring the sovereignty and security of all involved countries. This congruence underscores their mutual vision for a more comprehensive and secure digital milieu. President Xi's official visit to Russia provided a notable boost to President Putin, who perceives a hostile Western agenda aimed at undermining Russia's strategic position. Though the recent agreement doesn't equate to an alliance, it's unmistakable that China and Russia are aligning on various fronts. This visit aligned with a surprise visit by the Prime Minister of Japan to Kiev, underscoring Japan's backing for Ukraine in its resistance against Russia's incursion. This simultaneous diplomatic activity highlights the intricate dynamics and fluid alignments in the region. The accord between China and Russia holds significant potential for both nations, signifying their resolve to deepen bilateral ties, expand economic cooperation, and collaboratively confront global challenges. The partnership also carries implications for the equilibrium of power on the global stage, as China and Russia challenge Western predominance and assert their own influence. It's imperative for other countries to vigilantly observe the evolving rapport between China and Russia, as it's poised to unquestionably shape future geopolitical dynamics. With much about reports of U.S. concern over Sino-Russian collaboration covered, it is time to wrap this one up. If you have any topics in mind, comment below, and we will cover them for you. As always, subscribe to never miss out. This is Race to Space, and we will see you in the next one.